What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Luke TV, and I am your host, Luke G. Now, for everyone who is new to the channel, my name is Luke, and I am a person who is recovering from heroin addiction, among many other drugs. I've turned my life around somewhat. I've had a few slips in the road, but my life is completely better than it was before. And on this channel, I tell stories of my addiction, other people's addiction, stories in prison, stories on the streets, and just basically I try to tell a cautionary tale so people don't make the same mistakes I did. If you guys are new, hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and if you are subscribed, hit the notification bell for all so you can see all of my dope content. Alright guys, let's get into the video. So anyways guys, let's go back to 2009. So 2009, you guys, was right around the beginning of the opioid epidemic. It was when the oxycontin OC80s were just, they were really getting big around 2009. I believe they were discontinued sometime around 2010, 2011, maybe, I don't know, somewhere in that period, they were discontinued. And that's kind of where I got my first taste for opiates. So the OC80s, they had a protective layer that you would, get rid of and, use it however you wanted. I dibble-dabbled with that for a little bit. Word around town was a couple years later, like 2010, 2011, people in my city were starting to do. Now, I grew up in, a pretty wealthy suburb. Before that, I'd always looked at as like, oh, that's a drug, that homeless people do that, or that's a drug where you get marks all over your arms, diseases, and it just sounded scary, to be honest. The more and more I got into illegal type of lifestyle, I started hearing more people that were doing this drug. I don't know if it was curiosity, because at the time, this is in 2010, I was experimenting with a lot of different things. Club drugs, uppers, downers, you get the picture. I gotta keep it good for YouTube, you guys, so this video can be monetized. Basically, this circle that I was in, we were doing things that we shouldn't have been doing for money. And no, I'm not what you're thinking. We were moving things for money, and in that circle, more and more people started experimenting with it. So in 2010, I remember it like it was yesterday. I was in the Taco Bell parking lot of my hometown with one of my best friends. He offered me a line. So I tried it, and 10 minutes later, I was still sitting there, and I remember I was like, oh, I don't really feel this that much. I need to do another one. So I did another one, and I was sick for 8 hours. I was puking, I was, nauseous, but something caught my eye about it. Like, even though I was sick, nauseous, I felt this ease of mind. I felt like a warm blanket was covering me, and I felt invincible. And that was the day, you guys, that it got cemented in my mind that I love this drug. So basically how I got started was, I experimented with it a couple times, but I ended up buying it from someone, an organization. They would sell multicolored balloons, and, I would distribute those to get money. Basically, I would get one for $50 and I could sell it for $200. In the back of my mind, I had already tried, and I was getting rid of these things. One day, someone came to my house and was like, hey, you want to take a rip with me? He's like, it's just like opium. So, I basically put it on tinfoil, smoked it, and that was when I got the perfect high. I remember I was thinking, wow, last time I did it, I got really sick, really nauseous, and this time I just felt even keel. I felt like a warm blanket was covering me. I felt invincible. I felt like nothing could stop me. Basically, you guys, I kept getting rid of these things. I kept making money. I kept, smoking it on the side. What ended up happening was other streams of revenue that I was getting were not coming in anymore, and I was solely dependent on this to get rid of, to make money, and to consume. but my habit basically got bigger than what I was able to keep up with. So I kept doing it and I kept doing it basically until my money ran out. And when it was gone, a couple days later, I started feeling extremely sick. I mean, I would get the shivers, I would get super nauseous, couldn't sleep for hours, depression, fear, and it was just consuming me. I wrote it out and the withdrawals were gone. So, after that, I'd quit for about 9 months, I would say. I figured in the back of my mind, I was like, oh yeah, I got through that. That wasn't too bad. Basically in 2011 is when my addiction truly started. I was making trips to the city. I live in Minneapolis. I lived in a surrounding suburb, so we were making trips to the city every day. It was because the thing is I experimented with so many other drugs, and I was basically what I was looking for was something that was gonna make me feel content, something that was an everyday drug. Alcohol was great, but you get the bad hangovers in the morning. With this drug, I felt good all the time. It was relatively cheap when I first started doing it. I kept doing it every day. And in the beginning, everything was fine. It made doing everyday, normal, boring things fun. It really took the dullness out of my life, I guess you could say. I thought, hey, this isn't bad. I'm spending $20-$30 a day. This is manageable, and everything's working out. But as my addiction progressed, I eventually got up to $100 a day habit. People started noticing that something's wrong, something's off with me. I'm sleeping, I'm nodding out all the time, drooling on myself, smoking a cigarette. The cigarette would burn holes in my pants. People started getting concerned, people started cutting me off. So basically, you guys, my money situation was getting bad, and it got to the point where I remember, because at one point I had $12,000 saved up, roughly $12,000. And I remember when I got down to my last 1,000, I started panicking. I was like, what am I gonna do? But the addiction was so powerful that I couldn't say no. I had to stay well because I remembered the horrors of withdrawal, shivering in your bed, depression, regret, feeling guilty, what am I doing with my life? That horrible feeling of withdrawal is one of the most powerful things to combat. It is almost impossible. It's a war you cannot win. It's an uphill battle. I had my $1,000 left and it was whittling away by the minute. Once all the money was gone, I had to resort to pawning things. I remember the first thing I pawned was the speakers in my car, and I pawned TVs, and I had to steal money from my parents because this is when I was in my early 20s. I was still living at my parents'. Eventually, my parents found out. It was a big ordeal, and they wanted me to go to treatment. The only problem with that was there was a waiting list for the treatment. So during this time, I basically had to do anything. I was ripping people off that I used to, associate with. I was stealing from my parents, and it was just every single day was dedicated to staying well. And staying well is the only thing an addict cares about because that's what you have to do for survival. It got to a point where it was none of my true friends wanted to be around me because I was just sketchy. I was always going into the bathroom for 30 minutes, always asking for money and life was very small. My world was so small. My world was my using friends that I used with, my dealer. It really got dark, you guys. It really got dark. I guess throughout my 20s, I'll paint you guys a broader picture, because that was basically the beginning of my addiction. The broader picture is, my 20s consisted of going to jail, overdosing, going to treatment, going back to jail, overdosing, going back to treatment, going back to jail, because I was on probation at the time. And when you're an addict and you're on probation, you're gonna be going to jail. So many times I would have to go to jail and detox off these substances. And when you go to jail, when you're going through opiate withdrawal, it is 3 times the torture that jail already is, because you can't sleep your time away. You're up all night. The jail's super cold, and when you're in withdrawal, like, you get goosebumps all over your body. You're sweating, pacing back and forth. And I remember specifically being in the county jail doing like 100 jumping jacks in a row just so I could fall asleep, because there was pretty much nothing you can do to fall asleep. And you get this like nervous energy when you're in withdrawal. It's just like you're kind of shaky, and you're just and you get racing thoughts. You can't stop thinking. You guys, it is the most terrible thing ever. It just, looking back on it, I wasted so many years of my life going to treatment, getting out of treatment, staying sober for a little bit, relapsing, and losing everything. And I mean everything, you guys. I have literally built up an empire and lost it. Built up an empire, lost it. I've lost probably 5 cars in my addiction. I've spent well over $300,000, probably more than that actually. I probably spent over $500,000 in my heroin career, because I was doing $100 to $200 a day consistently. You know, it just got to a point where, like, you know, in the beginning, yeah, it was fun because there was more of a social aspect. You know, kid from the suburbs going to the city, you think it's cool, you think it's, oh, I'm doing this unique niche thing and I'm in this little subculture. But really, at the end of the day, it's just cutthroat, because everyone who's involved in that world is all about themselves. No one's gonna talk to you if you're an addict talking to other addicts unless you have money, a car, or the connection. You know, if you don't have anything to bring to the table, no one is gonna have a reason to hang out with you. And that's how fake, that's how cutthroat addiction is. It's not, you're not gonna meet genuine friends. I mean, I shouldn't say you're not gonna meet genuine friendships in addiction. You can. At the end of the day, everyone's just trying to stay well, you know, and no matter how much money you have, like, I know people who had 300,000. A friend of mine sold his house for 300,000 and had that cash in his bank. Literally a year later, it was all gone. So it doesn't matter if you got 10,000, 20,000, 5,000, you got some vehicles. Like, if you're a true addict alcoholic, more than likely you're gonna lose all that stuff, you guys. So, like, a day-to-day thing as an addict is you're just scraping up money, you know, looking for things to steal, you know, selling stuff. It's basically, that's your whole life. Your whole life is consumed with getting the drug, finding the drug. It's a lonely existence, you guys. I just wanted to share this video just as an informational video. A lot of you guys probably already know this stuff, but I want to caution anyone who, you know, currently is doing opiates, and this applies to all opiates, not just, I mentioned heroin because that's the opiate I started with. I know nowadays heroin isn't really readily available as it used to be. So I want to warn anyone who may be interested or is just starting to do, you know, fake Percocets, fentanyl, or anything like that. Heroin was an extremely dangerous lifestyle, but I'm going to tell you this, you know, I've had addictions to fentanyl, and fentanyl is so much worse, you guys. It's even more dangerous than it is now. So everything I said in this video pertaining to heroin also applies to fentanyl as well. So you guys, if any of you guys are thinking about starting this stuff, trying it, please don't. It will ruin your life. It will take everything. It has literally taken everything from me. I'm 32 and I'm starting over again. And luckily I have that chance to start over again because I have so many friends who have passed away from this disease, who have passed away from these drugs. It's heartbreaking, man. It's heartbreaking that so many people from my generation have passed away from this. You don't need to. Yes, it will temporarily make you feel better, but there's nothing in life can just make you feel that good without any repercussions. You're going to suffer consequences. It's going to ruin your life. It's gonna basically put your life on pause and then also detract from your life. So it'll put your life on pause, and then when you're done, you'll have nothing. So I tell this story, you guys, or I tell this information to please do not try this stuff. And thanks for stopping in, thanks for watching the video, guys. Hit that like button, subscribe. We got the member program for $4.99. It really helps the creative process. I'm Luke from lukegtv, and I'm out. Peace.